Good morning. This is DG Videtto, and I'm in my kitchen getting ready to make some banana bread. The interesting thing about the banana bread recipe is it does originate from my grandmother. I have many fond memories of my grandmother cooking in her kitchen, and one thing I will say is she was definitely a penny pincher. She raised all her children during the Depression, so she learned how to cook very nutritious meals and very flavorful meals. She was a good cook. And using recipes. So a funny story about that, I remember when I lived across the street, I would bake all these elaborate recipes, and she would say to me, "Oh, this is delicious." She goes, "What's in it?" And she would say, "Too expensive, too many ingredients." So she actually believed in less ingredients. But what I think she would appreciate about what I do is I try to not have any waste. So that being said, if I don't have enough bananas for the recipe, I'll add in some applesauce, which is what I'm going to do today. I've spent a lot of time in my kitchen trying to make sure I go through it and rotate it so I don't have any loss. And that's one of the reasons I'm actually baking today, because I'm going to bake a banana bread and then I'm going to slice it into portions and freeze it. I have these nice little paper wraps, which I'll share with you later. Anyway, let me get going on this. So what I have is, I have two ripe bananas. They could be even riper than this, but this is what I have. And I'm going to use an applesauce because I'm a little short on the bananas. 2 eggs, 1/3 cup of, I'm using safflower oil. There's a lot about oils and which one's the healthiest. I'll leave that to you folks to kind of do some research, but I know that there's a lot of controversy about oils. I've actually used coconut oil a lot. I actually really prefer that, but that's not what I have here today. I cut back on my sugar. Don't need that much sugar. And here's where my sister came in and did a little bit of change up to the recipe. Instead of using vanilla, she puts, a cinnamon stick inside some apricot flavored brandy. It's delicious. So this will last you quite a while. And that's what I use. When I'm getting my things together so I don't forget any ingredients, because that has happened, I'm sure it's happened to everyone, I tend to put all the dry ingredients, not the sugar, together. So I have my baking soda in here. I have a teaspoon of baking soda. I have 2 cups of flour. I might have to put a little more flour in, because since I'm using applesauce, you can usually tell by the consistency. And yeah, very few ingredients, and it's delicious. Obviously, you can add nuts, raisins, anything you want, but I'm going to keep it a little bit simple. So stay tuned while I get ready. Word to the wise, slow down the mixer before you add the flour. Otherwise, you'll have a flour cloud. So one of the reasons I stopped the mixer is I have a little bit more flour, but I'm going to test this a little bit because, like I said, when you start swapping out ingredients a little bit, it's kind of important to know what texture you're looking for. Whoops. Okay, so I'm going to scrape the sides up a little bit. And I actually think that I have enough flour in here. So I'm just short of 2 cups. And there's a teaspoon of baking soda in here. No baking powder. Very simple. And I would say this is what we're looking for. also find that you want to make sure you do a preheated oven. And I think for my on top, what I'm going to put is maybe even some hemp seeds, because I have some of those that are coming up on date too. So it's all about, to me, making sure that I use up ingredients and make, you know, the best healthy possible choices. When you buy store-bought baked goods, you can't control the ingredients. A lot of times they'll be high with sodium, less expensive oils, less healthy ingredients. When I do bake, I use good ingredients, and sometimes I even make it sugar-free, or I'll use honey, or if I have maple syrup, I'll use that as a sweetener. Haven't had much luck with, what was there was one sweetener, monk sugar. It's almost a little too sweet, so you can really cut that back. So, but then I have a texture problem with it, so I haven't really conquered that for baking. Perhaps some of you have. But anyway, I'm going to put this in the pan, preheat the oven, and come back. So I'm getting ready to put this in the oven, but actually I didn't preheat the oven. I'm going to do that now. I'm going to set it at 350, and I'm going to let it preheat correctly. In the oven, I've put the rack to the second shelf. I'm going to be using this for a pan. And you don't want it too close. Sometimes, depending on the pan, yeah, I think I'm actually going to put it on the middle shelf because it's a deeper pan. A deeper baking loaf pan. I'll let that heat up. If I have, here we go. If I have too much batter, what I'm going to do is do mini muffins. So, clean up my area. Actually, you know, I should mention, one of my things is I disinfect and clean the kitchen before I even start cooking. So when I make that commitment of time, I'm typically going to do a little bit more baking and cooking. And actually, I think I'm going to roast a chicken, and I might make some sweet potato stew with red lentils. One of my favorite recipes from actually another writer who wrote recipe books. Over 30 years ago, I got one of her books. She's called, her name is Nava Atlas, and she is a wonderful Mediterranean vegetarian cook. So I do a lot of her vegan stews and dishes. Fantastic. But anyway, I digress. I tend to ramble when I'm cooking. So, yeah, I might get well, I don't feel like cleaning another pan. Let's see. If you overfill it, what's going to happen is you'll have trouble getting it to cook all the way through. So I think I'm satisfied. So there's the loaf pan. It's just over half, and see what happens. See how it comes out together. So I did find some hemp seeds, and I just checked the date. I'm still good, but it's coming up June 2026. So what I like to do is I like to sprinkle some on top, and then I'm good to go. So the oven's at 290. I want to wait, make sure that it is up to temperature. Well, here's what we ended up with. The banana bread looks terrific. And I got a couple of muffins with the extra batter. So here are those patty papers that I was talking about. These are wonderful to have on hand. I use these all the time in baking. So what I'll be doing is I'll be slicing up the banana bread putting a piece of this paper, this patty paper, between each slice, and then freezing the loaf. So that way there, you're able to take a slice out at a time. It's right up there with the frozen cookie dough. Obviously I love my sweets, but it's just the two of us. So this is our way of making sure that we have something when we need or want it, and that we don't overdo it because it's just the two of us. Okay, so I just finished slicing and putting this paper patties in between each slice. So when I stick it in the freezer, they'll easily come apart to enjoy one slice at a time.